Welcome to Lead Where You Live, Tucson Voices in Leadership. I'm Jamie Leon Guerrero.
And I'm Raakel Frost. This podcast is all about real people leading with heart in our community.
We believe leadership isn't about titles, it's about action. And Tucson is full of people making a difference in big and small ways.
Join us as we chat with inspiring voices who are showing up, stepping up, and shaping Tucson's future.
Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Lead Where You Live podcast. I'm Raakel Frost, and I am happy to have with me today Raakel Elzy. And unfortunately, Jamie Leon Guerrero is not able to be with us. She is sick, and we are going to miss her. But since the purpose of our podcast is about Raakel, then we're going to go on forward. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm going to get started, and I'm going to introduce Raakel. She is a Tucson native and licensed behavior analyst. She's the vice president of clinical operations, specialty services at Intermountain Centers, where she oversees autism services and foster care. Raakel is passionate about building inclusive, evidence-based support that helps individuals and families thrive, and she brings a deep commitment to resilience, community, and lasting impact. So Raakel, I'm going to get us started with, this is kind of a big one, which is, you just mentioned some really great things about, what you're committed to, what your job is, what your title is. And what we want to know is, who are you without the accolades and titles?
Yeah, thank you. So, really, I'm a mom. I'm, a partner, a friend. I think that sometimes we get overly, stuck on those big titles or, oh my goodness, you do this or that, or, the hard work that you do in your professional life. But, outside of work, carting my kids to soccer practice, just like every other parent, going out and about. I love to eat. So I'm often out to eat in Tucson at various restaurants, just trying to make my presence, really about my family and the community, and just kind of showing up where I am in the moment, and not trying to focus too much outside of work on my work life.
And when you're by yourself without your kids or family, tell us a little bit about what you do then, who you are when no one else is around.
Sure. So I'm an avid book reader. I love reading. I think I'm at about 50 books this year. And
This year.
year,
We're not even finished, so that's over 2 bucks.
about a book and a half a week, or I mean, at least a book a week, is usually what I try and do. And a lot of them are audiobooks. So my husband and I have this debate of if audiobooks are really reading.
Right?
But, I'm still taking the information in. It's actually so awesome to be able to do audiobooks these days, because you can kind of multitask. Whereas, when you're just sitting in a chair outside, I do love reading outside and just hearing nature. But I love reading. I'm a musician. I don't really sing anymore, but I got my bachelor's in music from the University of Arizona. I love singing. I love listening to music, attending live concerts. So that's kind of, what I love to do outside, and then just being outside. I am a Tucson desert lover. So, hiking, being outside, sitting on a patio, is really, what I love to do.
Yeah. Well, and since you love to read, hopefully you'll appreciate this next question because it's about words. Your name. Can you tell us where your name comes from?
Yeah, I actually love this question. It's so fun to answer, because I have a unique name. So, with the double A, always throws people off. And so usually the first question when someone meets me is, oh, that's a really unique spelling. Where did you get your name? And so my grandmother's from Finland, and that's how they spell Raakel in Finnish.
Okay, cool.
And but I'm also Mexican. And so when my mom was pregnant, she was trying to find a name that had like Hispanic roots, but also had Finnish roots. And so she found, Raakel is in Spanish, usually Raqu, and then the Finnish spelling Raak. So, and then Elzy is my married name, which actually people butcher all the time. I had no idea that a 4-letter name could like trip people up so much, because my maiden name is actually hyphenated. So it was Garcia Chacon. And people really struggled with like all the letters and the hyphen and which one came first. And so I said, oh, perfect. I'm marrying an Elzy. This will be great. 4 letters. But the amount of times people just don't, like, for some reason, the L, I think, or the E throws people off, and they'll say like, they just have a hard time spelling it. But, so it's too funny. But I love my name. I love getting that question. I'm really proud of kind of like where I've come from in the culture and being able to like blend those two. So yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah, and does in either language, does the name Raquel have a particular meaning to it that you're aware of?
Oh gosh, that's a really great question. I know it's the Finnish version of Rachel, and I know there's a few different like names of like what Rachel is. I don't know. I actually don't know the meaning of like what like that means.
Yeah, yeah, okay, okay. Well, nice. Well, I love it, I love unusual names, I have one myself, so I'm
Yes,
right there with you. It's a great starter whenever you meet somebody, right? Opens the door to conversation, which is really awesome.
totally.
And you mentioned that, you're from Tucson, so what do you love most about Tucson, and have you lived here your whole life? Were you
Great
born here?
question. Yeah, so I left Tucson for a bit. I lived up in Phoenix for 6 years after I graduated from grad school, moved up there to just I was not married, I didn't have kids. I was just, by myself and I said I want to try something new, but my family is incredibly important to me, so I didn't want to go too far. So went up to Phoenix for 6 years and then came back in 2023. I didn't actually realize how much I loved Tucson until I moved away. And we would come back for, Thanksgiving or the holidays or just to, visit family and friends. And the second I would see the mountains, I would just be blown away every single time. And I just still to this day, I can see the mountains from my backyard. And every time I look at them, I adore saguaros. We actually lost one in a monsoon storm a few summers ago and I cried. I was so sad. I think just the desert, it is just so incredible. I think it's so beautiful. And just to look at our mountains, the sunsets are obviously incredible. A lot of the times, monsoons are definitely my one of my favorite things of all of Tucson. No, but I just love the rich culture in Tucson. I love the, like, quirkiness. In Phoenix, I felt like everything was just a little bit more cookie cutter, kind of there are, like, obviously unique features of Phoenix, and it is, a melting pot 'cause it's so huge, but there's just this unique culture about Tucson that, again, I really think I didn't um, understand until I moved away and then would come back and I just like would like miss things. I kind of how I mentioned I love eating and so Tucson restaurants. It's incredible also to know that we're obviously a large city, but in comparison to others, of course, not as large. And to have such a diverse and unique food scene, I think is
Mhm.
also something that sort of sets us apart. And, there are so many restaurants I haven't been to just because there's so many options, or I have my favorites and, just continue to go back to those. Again,
Yes.
I drank the Kool-Aid. I love Tucson so much. It would be hard to convince me otherwise or share anything that I don't love about Tucson, but it is definitely something that I enjoy so much.
Well, I love that you spent some time in Phoenix and brought that as a comparison because, I think when you meet people and you tell them you're from Tucson, Arizona, their response is, "Oh, I've been to Arizona. I went to Phoenix." Right?
Yes.
And the first thing I think is, "Wow, that is not Tucson." Like
No, no, yeah.
it's
You're missing out.
whatever their impression was of Phoenix, regardless of whether it was positive, negative, it just doesn't compare to Tucson. We're
Totally.
so totally different. So, yeah.
Totally.
I really love that you were able to kind of comment on some of the reasons why. So you've told us a lot already, and we're gonna have to ask you at some point what your favorite restaurant is
Oh,
because you've mentioned restaurants and foods in Tucson several times. So let's start there with that, and then I'm gonna ask you our next question.
okay, so I don't think I can name just one, but one that comes to mind that we go to almost like at least a couple times a month is El Nene. I love Sonoran hot dogs, and so it is at Flowing Wells and Wetmore.
Okay.
And I know there's a lot of really good Sonoran hot dog places in town, but I just love their Sonoran dogs. And it's really close to my house, so it's super convenient. But I am like definitely a Sonoran hot dog fan. Another place that I love is Locale.
Mhm.
So, they have great breakfast. We usually go there for breakfast or lunch, but I'm a big Italian fan, and it's kind of like, Italian American, but they have really good pastries and coffee. So I think, and it's super cute. So I love going there as well. And then I'm trying to think if I can think of another one. Brooklyn Pizza. I feel like you can't go wrong with a good big slice of pizza. So
Mhm.
those are usually kind of like on rotate, and then we sort of like sample things in between.
Okay, wonderful. Well, tell us something now that most people, obviously, at least the listeners most likely, don't know about you.
So this is actually something that I think even my family and friends sometimes don't know, but a lot of people think I'm a teacher. And I was a teacher at the start of my career. I taught special education in Flowing Wells School District and loved it. But then I went on and got my behavior analyst certification. And so really I became more of like a behavior scientist. And now, it's been so fun, but in administration, I really get to apply the behavior science, to an organization, to systems, to supporting and developing my staff and my leaders that I oversee. And so I still get the question of, "Oh, you work with kids with autism? Oh, are you still a teacher?" But I actually am I love data, I love science, and really understanding the why behind, whether it's behind what people do, why a system is failing. Maybe at work, we roll out a new policy and we notice that people aren't following it. I love getting in there and understanding why. Is it a training issue? Is it resource issue? Is it a response effort issue? It's too hard for people to know how to do all of the steps and or whatnot. And so that is something I think people don't know, and they kind of see a cut like or associate again because of my experience. I mostly worked with children with autism for a very long time, but a lot of people still will sort of associate, oh, you work with kids with autism.
Hmm.
And I actually get to, I'm actually on our second floor of our building right now, but I get to go downstairs to our autism clinic, still see the kids when I want, but mostly I'm up here supporting the systems of an organization. And yeah, that people usually have no idea like what that means or what I
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
My mom
yeah.
still has
No,
to ask me all the time too.
I kind of had the same assumption just reading your bio. That
Yeah.
like that's just part of where you're like, oh, you work with kids with us, like that's
Yep.
just kind of, but it's really in supporting the organizations and the people and the systems that do that work.
Exactly. Exactly.
Great. And you've touched on this a little bit so far, but tell us some more about how leadership itself shows up for you in your personal, professional, and in the Tucson community life.
So since becoming a mom, I really, was trying to instill this in my kids, and I really feel the same way as a leader. But I love Ben Bell's motto. It's so simple, just be kind. You can try and influence, whether it's the community, your children, your coworkers at work to do something. But at the end of the day, if it's not meaningful to them, if it doesn't align with their values, if it doesn't speak to them or is implemented in a way that they're responsive, it's just not going to happen. And so I try and model that, and I tell my kids too of be a leader, not a follower. It's okay to follow people in some instances, and but it's really important that you hold true to your values, and you always think back, is does this align with my values and what I was what is important to me and my family. And so I try very, very hard to model what I want to see. I think modeling is also so important, especially as a leader, and that can be in the community, picking if I see trash on the ground, I pick it up and put it in the trash just because I want to, just help, our community be cleaner and safer for the children and, to play and just, for people to walk. As a mom, again, I always am trying to encourage my kids of if you see something, just be helpful, do the right thing and be helpful. And that's also kind of what I try and do, at my organization is I try very, very hard to be kind. I think to be clear. I love Brené Brown, who has done a lot of incredible leadership work, and she sort of, kind of talks around, how you can be a leader, be vulnerable, be authentic, and also make change happen. Because I think there's a lot of fear that people can't make change if they're not strict and serious. And sure, there has to be rule and order, but there you can still be incredibly gracious and compassionate and kind and get the change that you're looking for. So again, I just try, that's kind of like my value and motto, and so I try and just kind of as a community member do that as a professional in my relationship with my husband. Same thing as like being respectful, honest, clear, and kind. And I feel like it's gotten me far, and I hope to continue to push that message across to
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And I especially love, okay, so you definitely mentioning that you're the modeling type. You want to model what you want others to do. which is wonderful. But I think what's kind of cool and unique is because of your behavior analyst training and really passion for the why behind
Yes.
is, what I'm hearing from your story is that as a leader, really what you love to do and what you're passionate about is helping to figure out the whys and the motivations for what people do and need to be doing in order to make sure they're successful, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I think that's really, really unique. And it's pretty awesome to hear that because there are so many people out there who feel like they can get stuck in a rut where they're like, okay, well, obviously we need to do X. And so we're just going to tell everybody, let's do X. And even if you have to do that for a variety of reasons, if you're not getting the results you want, looking at that why, looking at what's missing, looking at what is needed in the underneath all of that to sort of meet people where they're at so that they can do what needs to be done is such a powerful way of being a leader.
Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
love that. We are gonna be moving now into our right where you are moment. And this is really a chance to pause and reflect on how growth, leadership, or clarity has shown up in your real life right where you are. So we are going to ask you the question first, and then I am going to answer after. Here is the question. What's a moment you felt completely out of your comfort zone and proud anyway?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'd say so I'm actually fairly introverted. I'm not I can put on a great show that I'm extroverted, but I'm actually super introverted. I think I now it was 5 years ago, but reached out to the Arizona Association for Behavior Analysis and said, "How do I get more involved?" And they said, "Oh, we actually have an open board seat. If you'd like to apply, go ahead." And so I applied and I interviewed and I got the board seat, which was really exciting, but they needed someone to lead their public policy committee.
Mhm,
And I didn't realize I was hosting, monthly or quarterly meetings and facilitating with some of the biggest, behavior analysis leaders in our or not our organization in our like state.
mhm.
And I was so nervous, was buttering my words. I was very, very uncomfortable with leading my first meeting. But after I did it, I really realized that, again, back to my kind of modeling is like, unless I show others that leaders get nervous too, or that sometimes you just got to stumble through it and get through it to gain that confidence of going forward. Then like it's a missed opportunity. I got better over time. I no longer am on that, I'm the chair of the committee anymore, but it was something that I didn't realize, but I'm actually kind of glad I was thrust into so I could, be
Yeah,
uncomfortable getting through that.
yeah, and I do think that a lot of times that in those situations, that we're proud of being brave, right?
Yes.
And I really like that you went to the aspect of, like, showing others that it's okay to be nervous, to not be 100% perfect all the time, and that kind of reminds me of something that happened actually this past week for me, which is that I was traveling to my brokerage's national big conference. It was my first time going to the conference, and I was chatting with my group. We're all talking about like where you're staying, what you're doing, all this sort of stuff. And I realized that I actually had no clue how to get from my airport to the hotel. And someone had offered to pick me up, and I texted them and I was like, I said, "Well, thank you. I'm admitting this on air now." Because I've never downloaded Uber or
Okay,
Lyft
Uber.
or anything like that. I have no clue how to do that. And I was feeling so nervous, and I finally admitted to the group I had traveled only twice in the last this would be the second time in 20 years that I had ever traveled by myself. But, I am actually really proud that I admitted to the group that I was nervous, that I was doing something that I realized I was not comfortable. A lot of things just take practice. Like you said, it took you some time. And then once you got into it, it was fine. But that was the same thing. Hey, it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be that uncomfortable and a little scared. And is something that becomes very brave and later you become very proud of.
I think there's that, say like fake it till you make it. And that is totally a thing too, but I think there's also so much value in being authentic. And just saying, yeah, I don't even actually have Uber. I don't know how to get there. And that's okay. And I think again that when you're vulnerable and authentic, then it just like there's I just see so much more like quality in those types of interactions.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Now we get to move on to the fun part. I love this part. So it's our rapid fire section. And what I love is that we're going to throw in some things. There's definitely at least one food question for you.
Awesome.
And the two types of questions, one is going to be just like a this or that type question. But the second type of question will be a question that you may want to take a lot of time to think. And what we're asking you to do is just go with your gut response. Okay? All right. So question number 1, leading by example. And I already know the answer. I didn't know you. I already know the answer to this one. Leading by example or leading by instruction?
Leading by example.
Right? Leading with modeling. I got it. If you could trade places with someone for a day, who would it be?
Ooh, that's easy. Brené Brown. I'm also reading her brand new book that just came out, so she's very like on the forefront, but she is definitely good.
Swimming pool or hot tub?
Swimming pool.
What's a local business you love to support?
Ben Spells.
Entertaining at home or going out?
Home.
What's the most unusual talent you have?
Unusual. Well, I'll say singing, even though it's not totally unusual, but not everyone can do it, I know.
Chimichanga or enchilada?
Enchiladas.
What's a random fact you know that always surprises people?
Probably, maybe just some of my knowledge about Finland, which some people are so unfamiliar with that's even a country, or they know such little about it.
So tell us something. I want to hear. Give me a fact.
Oh, well, they were like one of the first countries to have a woman president, and they have free education all the way through graduate school for anyone who is a citizen or if their parents were citizens.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, they've been so they're like top of the world for education.
Just have to be willing to brave the cold, right?
Yes, it is definitely a sacrifice. I've thought of it many times to move there for my kids' education, and I couldn't do it. I'm, again, a desert rat. Do not do well with cold.
I'm right there with you.
It's 80 today, and I'm in a long sleeve shirt because
Wait, look. See, I'm ready. Delegating or doing it all yourself?
Delegating.
And that is our lightning round. We are all done. So now you get an opportunity to tell us about your evergreen causes, projects, organizations, events. What would you like to promote to our listeners?
Just love to promote the organization I work for. Intermountain Centers, we provide a ton of services around the state of Arizona. So while I oversee autism and foster care, and of course, those are two very, very needed services and supports in our state, we do a lot, just general mental health. We do psychiatry, primary care services. We do residential programs for individuals needing a higher level of support if they're not doing well with like community-based services. We do, let's see, oh my gosh, there's so much. So we have a medically assisted treatment clinic. We do an ACT team, which essentially brings a service to a member. That's for adults with serious mental illness. We do have an autism school also. So, there's services, but there's also a school. We do so much. If there's any supports that the community needs, housing supports, we also have, and we do that statewide. And so, a lot of people don't know the breadth of what we do. And so, just getting that awareness, it really is an incredible, we're a nonprofit organization, and, our CEO is incredible, where she always just wants to serve the community, and the need that, if there is a need, she will find a way to make that happen. And so I really appreciate that. And we've been around for over 50 years. And so we really are dedicated to the community.
And what's the best way for people to find out more information and all the different services that are available?
Yeah, so our website is intermountaincenters.org. So that sort of outlines where we provide the service and the type of service. So that's a great place to start. People are always welcome to reach out to me. I am always happy to guide them to even if we don't serve that, that particular need. I'm always happy to connect them to resources. And my information is RLZ, so ELZY at ICHD.net. And I'm always happy to chat with anybody and get them where they need to go.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Raakel. It has been a lot of fun getting to know you more. Maybe next time we host a podcast, we'll have you do a little singing if you were willing.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe we need to get together for a karaoke night.
Yeah, that would be so fun.
But it's been a lot of fun having you as a guest here on Lead Where You Live. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Lead Where You Live. We hope you're feeling inspired by our guest's story and the impact they're making right here in Tucson.
If you love this conversation, help us spread the word. Share this episode, subscribe on YouTube, and tag a local leader who should be featured next.
Because leadership starts with showing up, and we know Tucson is full of incredible people doing just that.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Lead Where You Live.